comes the 16th century, where we have our dear Martin Luther, who comes up with his new set of, he himself was a priest. He used to be a priest. He left his priesthood. Then he gets married to a nun who escaped from her convent. So it was all like messed up, right? So then they are against the church, and then he was totally against Mary. In fact, he even has a book which speaks against the Rosary. Okay, so all these things started happening. So it's again, people started leaving faith. A lot of people, church is still the same. The laity started leaving the faith. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of confusions over indulgences and things like that. But God works in his time. During this time itself, there was a counter-reformation that was happening. Okay, it was like we have the saints like Saint Charles Borromeo, Saint Philip Neri. Then the Jesuits came up with the sodality. So all these major movements started coming up slowly. And it was this particular century, even though we had all these people leaving the church also, it was a time of missionaries. Okay, century of missionaries. Lot of missionaries went, they traveled wide, far, and this faith was also growing, in fact. And then here there are in this century, you have two important battles. One is the Great Siege of Malta, and another one is the Battle of Lepanto. This was actually sensed in, Great Siege of Malta. There was like 40,000 people, and Catholics, they all collected all the Christians together. It was just 6,000. And all that they had was Rosary to pray. And in fact, there's this story where one of the commanders, he had went to the blacksmith and asked that blacksmith to have the Rosary inside the sword that they are using. So I mean, that was the level of faith they had. They prayed the Rosary and then they won the war. So it was like a major victory. Immediately after that, Battle of Lepanto. So that was also that was like after 5 years or something. And during this time, there was this Pope Pius V. He started something called the Holy League. Holy League was started to combat this people, okay, the Ottoman Empire. He invited all the countries to come and fight. You Christians, come and fight. Let's do this crusade together. England was busy, French busy in their own, leaving the church and things, the free thinkers and all those things. So the only country that came nearby was like the Naples, Venice. Venice was also there. Some nearby, the small country, they came together, and that's how they fought this war. But it was huge. And it is said that like once when Pope Pius was attending to some, his normal meetings, he's getting a vision that our naval fleet has won. So he gets a vision, and then there is a celebration he begins. So later they come to know, messages reach late, right? So they come to know that they have actually won this. To celebrate this, he starts the Feast of Our Lady of Victory, which later another Pope Gregory the 13th, he comes and he converts that into a Lady of Rosary. Okay, so from there we have this Lady of Rosary, that term, we start hearing that. Also, there were many practices which was used by Dominicans. It was like they had indulgences where you just walk into any Dominican church, you get indulgences. But later on, that and all was just gone, okay? They just removed everything. And also this was a time where in Ireland was also becoming like a very Catholic country, and family rosaries started off there. People sit in a family, something that we have now. So those things happen, and so many things were happening around the world. A lot of people being martyred in Vietnam, 300,000 martyrs. That's how it is. But there was this Mary who appeared there as well in one of the forests, Lavang forest, where Mary appears to them, and from there they are. That is because of these massacres. She appears there and gives them consolation and give them the strength to go through this and all that. So during this, the 16th century was like a very eventful time, and we get this term like the Lady of Rosary and all those things. And when we come to India also, 16th to 17th century is a time when Our Lady of Velankani apparition and all those things is happening here. So Mary was pretty active at that time, and actually she's active always. If you look into the map, wherever she has traveled, it's wide, and she's gone almost every country, every nook and corner, and people where we've not even, these are the recorded ones, official ones. So unofficially, she's visited so many people, right? So that's how. And then in 17th century also, we saw a lot of Catholic faith growing and rosary devotions growing. There was one saint called Saint Mary, and she was in Spain, okay? And some Franciscans, they came to visit a place, New Mexico, Texas, somewhere over there. And they went to evangelize to a set of Indians, tribal Indians over there. And the Indians, they already know everything, okay? And these people are very, they are so surprised. How did you guys know all these things? So the Indian said, the lady in the blue told us everything. So the lady in the blue told them about the Catholic faith, used to give them rosaries. She used to keep visiting them. And she used to have, she used to tell them, whenever a priest comes here, you get yourself baptized. So the Franciscans didn't have much work to do there. They just need to baptize the whole land. And then they thought, okay, my lady in blue is obviously Mother Mary. And so they started thinking, okay, it's Mother Mary. But then they said, no, it's not an apparition. It's a real woman who comes from the mountains. She comes, she speaks, and then she goes off. Then they later came to know 500 times this lady has come there. And then a lot of people started researching, and they found out in a convent in Spain, there is a saint, who later becomes a saint, Mary. She used to write a book of Mary. She was doing that work, okay? She was writing the life of Mother Mary. So she has this charism of bilocation. So this nun, it's a nun. She collects all the rosaries that was left over. There's like this extra rosaries in the convent. She will carry it and she'll give it to these tribals during a time of bilocation. Even she's not aware how she's doing it. She would be in a time of ecstasy. She has explained them about the Catholic faith, and all they needed was to just get baptized. So that was something, these kind of, such miraculous things and such unknown things were heard during this century of 17th century. 18th century also, there was one well-known thing called A Lady of Las Layas. It's like one mother and a child, they are going somewhere, okay? And there is some kind of storm or something, and they try to take refuge in one a cave kind of thing. But these people believe that in the cave there is like demons are there in the caves. You should never go to the caves. And so they were very scared. But still the mother, they didn't have any other way to go. So they just stayed there. And this child was deaf, mute, and she had a lot of illness and all. So the mother, she goes there, and there they happen to see a lady with a baby. That's how they describe it. But they knew it was Mary, they knew it was baby Jesus, but they didn't have the guts to tell it around to people and all that. And then later, after many years, this child dies because of her illness. The child dies. So that time the mother is so worried. She takes this child in her hand, and runs to this place, and she prays at that cave, praying for Mary's intercession to bring back the child to life. And the child is brought back to life. Okay, such miraculous. And people come there, they see there is a huge carving image on the rock over there, a life-size image of Mother Mary, handing the rosary over to the Dominicans on one side and the Franciscans on the other side. And even the mother and the child has never seen that before. They are like, what is this picture? And they start seeing a lot of people come, and they bring a priest, and the priest confirms it is Our Lady, and that whoever is the saints over there they are the Franciscans and Dominicans. So it should be Saint Dominic and Saint Francis. So he confirms it, and there is a lot of people coming and checking it, and slowly people come and they chip it out. Okay, they try to chip that rock to see what it is and all that. And the more they chip, the image is not disappearing. The more and more the image they can see inside. So it was like a very strange thing of nature. The later geologists come, they are not able to find out what it is. They are chipping, again they see the image there. So that is the miraculous image. And it is said that later on there has been a lot of healings that has happened over there. So they have a cathedral, basilica, something built over there after some years and all. So these things and all was happening in the 18th century. And also we had, as all these things was happening, we had on the other side the French Revolution, which started off in France again. Devil's motive is to just finish off France, right? So now France, you have the French Revolution, there's a lot of people being killed, the clergy, there's a major massacre that is happening there. People are burning books. The books of the church are burned like anything. There's no documents left. Whatever people have hidden those times, those are the things which later we are getting it. Like Louis de Montfort all the books that he had, somebody had hidden it. They dug a hole, inside a field, they dug inside the mud and they kept it there. And after 130 years, people find it. So it was like, it's kept reserved for another era, another period when people need it. So 19th century, you have Lourdes, Our Lady of Lourdes. Then we have one of our best popes who loved Mother Mary, Pope Leo the 13th. He has had a vision while he was doing the Mass, and I think it was in the middle of the Mass or something, and then he sees in the heaven Michael the Archangel. So this prayer was officially, he makes it the official prayer of the church. This is the prayer, it's a very powerful prayer, and he adds that prayer to the end of the Rosary. So that's how we in our families, most of the families at least, we pray this prayer. It's a very powerful prayer, the Saint Michael the Archangel. Why it is so powerful is not just because Saint Michael the Archangel is like the commander kind of guy, but no, he was lower than Lucifer. Okay, he was lower in state than Lucifer. Lucifer was like the best. So, now Lucifer is down and this angel is up. The pride of Lucifer cannot handle Michael. Okay, so that's why when we pray the Saint Michael the Archangel, we pray to Mother Mary. Mother Mary is also the complete humility, and he hates humility. And that's one thing that saints always tell us: be humble. Why? The more you're humble, the devil can't attack you, because the devil is like, there's no point telling anything to this person. I can't even divert him. He's so humble. So this was the weapon. So Pope Leo the 13th was a marvelous person that we had. He had written a lot of things about Mother Mary, and he was the one who started this month of October as that he set it apart for Rosary month. Now before that also we saw this battle, right? One of the battles where Our Lady of Victory, we had termed the Lady of Victory and Lady of Rosary. That also happened in October 7th, around that time. So this particular Pope, he made October as the month of Rosary. Mainly because it is said that he's from a farming background, so month of Rosary was like a harvest time for them. So he used this as like harvest of souls. That's how many of the documents say. And then he put the title of Lady of Rosary to the Lady of Loreto. It is the Lady of Loreto's litany that we recite at home. Recently, I think Pope Francis added 3 more invocations to that litany to the Lady of Loreto. Okay, so that's the main things that happened in the 19th century.